Y'all, we're making pea picking cake. Come on. Hi, I'm Wes. You probably know me from my regular channel, Highfalutin Low Carb, where I've been cooking for over 6 years here on YouTube. But today you've stumbled onto my personal channel for a little series I'm calling Book Cook, where I reignite my love for recipes and the stories behind them by scouring old cookbooks for long forgotten recipes that are either historical, interesting, weird, or just plain ridiculous. So today we're making pea picking cake. Come on. This tastes like 1982. On a back porch with a little bit of the air conditioner coming through the screen door. All right, guys, if you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. Rest assured, I am not leaving the low-carb world behind. Far from it. If you know me, you know I've been here on YouTube for about 6 years now, and I've lost almost 100 pounds eating and cooking low-carb and keto. None of that is changing, but I do need to reignite my passion for video making and cooking and my love of old recipes and old cookbooks. You guys know, if you know me and have watched my other stuff, how I love to remake old recipes from my family, from like church books, family cookbooks, community cookbooks. I can't go out of town without going to a yard sale or swap meet and looking for old cookbooks, because there's some weird stuff and some fun stuff that you would never think to make. In the back of these things, it'll be a recipe for ambrosia salad right next to floor cleaner. You know, you just never know what you're gonna get. So today I'm gonna start all of this with an old cookbook that was printed in I believe 78. It's from my grandma's church, the Reaching Out group at the Sardis Methodist Church, and this is my grandmother's recipe for pea picking cake. It is not fancy at all, and you've probably never heard of it, but it's light, fluffy, and delicious. Some people call it pig picking cake, and we'll get into the differences of those in just a moment. I'll show you a clip of this. This is from the recipe book here. I hope my grandmother's copyright lawyer doesn't come after me. Lord, Grandma, don't come for me. I will also make sure that this is printed in the video description below and in the pinned comment below in case you want to print this out. All right, so we're going to start this very easily, and this is so weird to be using these ingredients and not low-carb ingredients, but trust that I have family and friends and other people in town that will enjoy this food that I will pass this along to. So we're going to start with a box of yellow cake mix, and some of this I've had to figure some of the amounts because package sizes are different than they were back in 1978. So a box of yellow cake mix. To this, we're going to add a half a cup of oil. I'm using some light olive oil. I don't use vegetable oil that often, but you can use corn oil or canola oil if you so choose. We're also going to add in a 15-ounce can of mandarin oranges and their juice into this cake mix. In that goes. And lastly, 4 eggs. And this is about $17,000 worth of eggs right here, so just be careful with those, don't lose those. And now you can do this with your hand, but the point is you want to kind of cut these mandarin oranges up, and my grandma always did it with a mixer. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll speed this up so you don't have to listen to it or watch it. Meet you right back here. All right, it is that easy, and you want to use your mixer to break up those pieces of mandarin orange. Some people, I think, in their recipes leave them whole, but they tend to sink to the bottom of the cake. So if you use your electric mixer or just cut them up before you bake it, they will stay afloat, as it were. Now, we're going to move on from here. My grandmother would have made this in, when I first started eating it, she made it in 4 9-inch cake pans, and then would put the filling, which we're gonna learn in a minute. We'll put the filling in between. Later on, that just became a greased 9 by 13. It tasted just as good. It was just a whole lot easier. So if you want to be fancy, put this in 4 9-inch pie pans and bake it at 350 for about 15 to 20 minutes. You'll check with a toothpick. But otherwise, I'm just gonna put this in a 9 by 13 baking pan, and I put a little bit of butter on the side so that it doesn't stick. And then it won't be as fancy, but I promise it will be just as is good. And then this is gonna go in the oven for 350 degrees, and I'm gonna check it at about 25 minutes, might take a little bit longer than that. And then we're gonna completely let it cool. But before, while that's happening, I'm gonna come in and make the filling / icing. This is a very wet cake that lives in the fridge. But I'm gonna throw this in the oven and I'll meet you back here and we'll start on the icing in just one moment. See you right back. All right, so let's get started now on the filling / icing. This is really super easy, and we're gonna start with some whipped topping, Cool Whip, whatever you wanna call it.
Yeah, Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. You're saying it weird.
This calls for, again, I've refigured some of the measurements from my grandmother's original recipe to make this a little more modern for our packages here, but she would use 12 ounces of Cool Whip, but Cool Whip and whip topping only comes in 8 and 16, so either buy 2 of these and use 1.5, or buy a big one and just use part of it. But you're just kind of eyeballing this. This isn't rocket science here. I mean, she was probably making this with babies on her hip and screaming husband, if I had to guess. All right, to this we're also going to add in, this is a 15-ounce can of crushed pineapples with their juice. And in this goes here. To this we're going to add a 3.4-ounce package of instant vanilla pudding mix. And I had to make this a couple of times because pudding comes in a big one that's a lot bigger than this that they probably didn't make in the late 70s, early 80s, until we became big, gigantic fatties like we are now in America. So add your pudding mix to this, and then we're just gonna whisk all this together. And again, y'all, while I'm doing this, I just want to say, I should have used a larger bowl. I just want to say to my regular viewers, thank you for allowing me a little bit of space and a little bit of grace to do this. Again, I'm not leaving the low carb or keto world behind. I have a, as many of you know, I have a best-selling keto cookbook, ketogenic diet on a budget. It is a lifestyle that I love and that I enjoy, and a lot of these recipes hopefully will convert into a low carb version. But I just needed, after 6 years of cooking on YouTube, it's something I love. I've always kind of joked that I've always wanted a cooking show, and YouTube gave me the opportunity to do that. But in doing so, I've just sort of needed some space to do some other things, and this is one of them. And unfortunately, for some of you, this may be triggering if you're eating low carb and keto, and for that I understand. So just switch back to my highfalutin low carb channel. I'll still have content over there. All right, so this is gonna go in the fridge. You're gonna put some plastic wrap on this, and then the cake's gonna come out of the oven, and it's gotta cool completely here on the counter for about an hour before we ice this. And then I'll show you that. And then we're gonna let it cool in the fridge. It needs to live in the fridge at least a couple hours, preferably overnight. If you're making this for company, make it the next, make it the day before. This was made for, we called it pea picking cake because there were always peas to be picked and shelled, and it was kind of hot, and this is light and cold and wet and refreshing. It's just great on a hot summer day. But also some families called it pig picking cake, which would be when the whole family got together in the spring and you butchered a hog, and you sort of had it out family style, and everybody's picking on the pig, and it was just a table dessert to have that is easy to make and wonderful and carries well, and all of those things that you love about Southern comfort food. So whether you call it pea picking cake or pig picking cake, we're about to make some, and we're gonna test it. All right, guys, we're back. Ignore the wardrobe change. I walked the dogs while the cake cooled, which is now perfectly at room temperature. It turned out beautifully. So there's some mandarin oranges hidden all up inside of there. So now we're just gonna, I just wanted to show you this because, I mean, my gosh, this is the prettiest thing, part of the whole recipe. So this goes on, and this has got to live, unfortunately, like I said, in the fridge, which makes it taste great, but it also means that it's better the next day. So I'm going to come back here later tonight for a late night cake tasting, or first thing in the morning for some breakfast cake, I guess you could say. But we're gonna just spread this on, make it as beautiful as you can. It's gonna be thick, and it's a lot of topping. And this is where, if you were making this in a layer cake, This would go a lot further between the layers, but I mean, come on. Look a yonder. Look a yonder. It's all that pudding and cake. So, jeez. All right, I'm gonna resist sticking my finger in that. We're gonna cover this with some saran wrap so it won't be as pretty when I come back to it, but I will see you back here and we're gonna taste this thing. It'll be probably tomorrow or later, but for you, it'll be just a few minutes. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, folks, we are back and looky, looky, looky. It is gorgeous. It has been in the fridge. This is the next morning. Now, I know you probably can't be able to see it here because of the lighting and the camera, but when you cook in this pan, it gets a little bit of shrinkage on the side, and somehow the next morning, like a fourth of the cake is gone, but I think it's just a problem with the pan. So, anyway, let's test this. I'm gonna cut this and give it a whirl. As you can see, perhaps somebody has tested it. And this is a magic little device here. This, it looks so simple and stupid. It's the OXO Good Grips. It is perfect for this kind of work right here. I'll leave a link to it down below because people generally ask what materials I'm using here on camera. Y'all, look at that. That looks freaking gorgeous. All right, let's taste. Look, I wish you could see how, let me hide my big old head, how fluffy and gorgeous that is. And I haven't had a bite of this in probably 20 years. So probably gonna blow my head off with all this sugar. All right, what do we think? This tastes like 1982 on a back porch with a little bit of the air conditioner coming through the screen door. Okay, y'all, it's just as freaking good as I remember from a kid. And it's so easy and so simple. I'm not saying it's the healthiest thing in the world, far from it. This will probably be one of the only pieces I eat of this, but I gotta get it out of the house soon. I'm gonna take some photos of it and go visit some friends, all right? So there you have it. All right, guys, so there you have it. Pea picking cake, pig picking cake, whatever you want to call it, that stuff is good. So just be careful with it, especially if you're like me and you're on a low carb diet, because that sure ain't low carb. And I usually close these videos out with the nutritional information, but I'm just gonna say per slice, that cake had all the calories and all the carbs, so, and all the sugar. So yeah, thank you guys if you're for joining me. If you're new here, welcome again. If you're not new here, welcome back again. Thank you for giving me a little bit of space, a little bit of grace to grow and stretch my wings. Again, I'm not leaving the low carb world behind. I will see you over there for another video. And again, if more importantly, if you have made this, let me know in the comments below. If you have a different version of this pig picking cake or pea picking cake, let me know in the comments below. More importantly, if you have an old cool cookbook with some very weird, interesting recipes that you want me to try, let me know. Put a comment down below. Like this video, subscribe here if you haven't. Give me a thumbs up. Let the algorithm know that this is a fun video that others might want to check out. And until then, I will see you over on Highfalutin Low Carb. Until I see you here, I love you guys. Talk to you soon.